Ah, yes, panic attacks. Have you had them? Do you know somebody who has had them? I have had them. Plenty of times before. Years ago in my life, I've had panic. I suffered severely from panic attacks. Um, the reason why I'm bringing this up and I'm doing this video now is because of the job that I have now, currently have now, is a very high stress job. I constantly talk about this. I know if you watch my other videos, I constantly talk about this because it's a very stressful job. I'm sure yours is too. But I can feel, years ago I had panic attacks and I was able to overcome these panic attacks. Panic attacks, anxiety, depression, it's all kind of goes together. And years ago, I was able to pull myself out of having these panic attacks. Well, every so often when I get stressed out, I can feel that monster. I can feel it in the background. And now I know how to deal with it. I've learned how to deal with it, but years ago, probably when I was 25, 26 years old, I went through a 3 or 4 year period where I had severe panic attacks, and so severe that I recall I actually, 1 or 2 occasions, actually gave myself a hemorrhoid from not feeling like I couldn't breathe. It's very, very strange. I mean, I remember to this day, they're so traumatic. Some panic attacks are so traumatic for people that I can remember to this day. I can remember the road, the street I was on. Funny, I can't remember the car I was driving, but I can remember where I was at. And when people suffer from panic attacks, for instance, I would be at a stoplight and there would be cars all around me and waiting for the light to turn green, and I would feel like these people were looking at me and judging me by looking at me. And not, I mean, now, who cares? You look over, somebody's looking at you, who cares? But then when you're in depression or when you're having panic attacks, that can be a very, very scary situation. And it's hard to explain why, but you get this feeling of everybody is looking at you and everybody is judging you. Were they? Probably not. Who cares? But probably not. But back then, it was a very, very scary situation. Started hyperventilating, and so on and so on. And that was just one of many, 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 many times I had panic attacks. It was a daily thing. I mean, it got to a point, and I don't understand. To this day, I really don't understand why I had them. I had a good life, a good job, a beautiful daughter. My marriage at that time was okay, and I never could figure out why I had them. Chemical. They say a chemical imbalance. You ask a medical doctor, they say a chemical imbalance. You ask a psychiatrist, it's not really the chemical balance. And I try to lean more towards the psychiatrist. I believe it's your brain, training your brain to think correctly and recognize irrational thinking. That's the main thing about depression, anxiety, and panic attacks. But my life was good. I would just, I got so worked up, didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what to recognize. And I went through 3 or 4 years of severe depression. I remember a time going in the supermarket and walking up, the cashier's facing you, and walking up to write a check. That's how long ago this was. I was writing checks. And you turn, at some point you have to turn and somewhat face the people behind you. And I remember not facing the people, but I remember feeling like these people were looking at me, and like they were judging me, like who am I? Why is he here? Why is he in the supermarket? And I wrote my check. I wrote the check out. I can't even remember if I signed it, but I wrote it out and I threw it on the counter and I left. I left my groceries there. Never went in the supermarket again. So, you know, it's pretty weird. It's a pretty weird situation. And another time I remember is walking through the mall with my brother-in-law. And I was walking through the mall, and I can't remember what triggered it, but it got so severe that, again, I started hyperventilating, and I literally started running through the mall. I started running through the mall, and I actually fell to my knees, and I fell to the ground. And I somehow, in my mind, got enough strength to get up and finish running out of the mall. I don't know who was looking at me. I'm sure if you're running through a mall, everybody was looking at you. But at the time, you know, I felt so enclosed. When you have panic attacks, when a person has a panic attack and when they suffer from severe depression and anxiety, you feel like all your walls are closing in on you. And you have this sense of tunnel vision where you can only see where your eyes are going. You can't see anything else. You can't see the world as a whole. You can't see your environment as a whole. You can only see what's in front of you. And what's in front of you, your brain tries to figure out, you know, hey, I'm used to seeing everything around me, but now I'm only seeing what is right in front of me. And it's very scary. I mean, it's very scary for a person who suffers from panic attacks. And I believe, and this is just my opinion, you know, I'm sure a lot of you will argue or leave comments, whatever, but I believe a lot of what is going on nowadays is because kids, young adults, you know, even adults, have a tendency to, instead of fighting these panic attacks and fighting this depression and this anxiety, they have a tendency to turn it and turn it into anger and turn it into violence. And it seems like people have a tendency to just accept that they're an angry person or to accept that they're a depressed person and go about their life that way. And I'm here to tell you that there is help. You know, there's a lot of help out there. The biggest person that can help you is yourself. You have to recognize that it's irrational thinking. You have to recognize that, for one, who gives a shit if everybody is looking at you? Who cares? You are you. They're not you. Those people are not you. So who cares if they're looking at you? And really, who cares if they're judging you? It doesn't matter. Just, you know, be yourself. Be who you are. Be the best that you can be. If you know that you are being the best person that you can be, then screw everybody else. It doesn't matter what they think. So, and I think, you know, a lot of that's just that way of thinking is not what pulled me out of panic attacks. Excuse me. But it did help, and ultimately, in the end, that's, you know, where to me, it doesn't matter what people think about me, because I take everybody's opinion as value, as constructive criticism. I really do. Everybody's opinion is valuable to me, but it doesn't make me who I am, and it's not going to dictate my life on how a person judges me or what they think. And it should be the same for you. So, you know, if you are suffering from panic attacks, or you are suffering from extreme depression, anxiety, there is help. But just remember that it is you. It is ultimately you that has to pull yourself out of it. So, and to have somebody, you know, who has been through it and knows, that helps tremendously, because they, you know, they understand and they care, like myself. I understand. You know, it doesn't make you a weak person. It doesn't make you a wimpy person. If anything, it's just the opposite. It will give you insight. It will give you depth as a person, I believe. It makes people better because ultimately it's your heart and your mind that is thinking so strong and so deeply and so passionately about something. You get over these panic attacks and you get over this anxiety, and trust me, you are going to be a wonderful, wonderful person, just like you are now. But you got to clear all those cobwebs. You got to clear that stuff away. And you're going to have this mind and this heart that is absolutely wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Rant over. Thank you, everybody.